Thank you, Jeremy. Welcome, everybody. Miss you guys. Good to catch up here. I'll try to go basically through the roster and give you a quick update on some guys, and then a few thoughts and goals moving forward to next week when we start spring practice, and then answer any questions. Winter workouts have gone well. Usually they do. Coach Hess and his staff do a tremendous job. So they're working really hard. We're working hard on leadership. In fact, last year at this time, we had a leadership committee that we appointed, and we did not feel like we had great leadership throughout all the season last year. So we're working really hard to teach leadership and bring in different thoughts, bring in different speakers. We're not going to appoint our leadership committee till after spring practice, because we're going to make them earn it. And then we will appoint them as a staff. And then we feel like there'll be fewer, because we want to put a huge emphasis on leadership. And then in the fall, after preseason practice, again, the players will be able to vote on who they feel like the best leaders are. We're talking about going back and playing to a standard. The first 2 years we played with a chip on our shoulder. We played hard. We overcame a lot of adversity. We came back in games and and had some super comebacks. And this year we had some of that, but we weren't as consistent with who we wanted to be. So we're going to go back and create that edge and make sure that we're not walking around acting like we've just been to the Orange Bowl and we're eighth in the country right now. We haven't proven anything. So we're starting over as a program, and we want to go back to the basics that we had that first year. We're working really hard with discipline. Some reason that slipped last year, and we had way entirely too many penalties. We still didn't have turnovers, but we didn't force turnovers, but we had too many penalties. And we're working really hard and competing every minute of every day. There's a winner and a loser in everything you do, and we've got to get that mentality back. And to win football games, you got to win situations. You go back to the Super Bowl. How many times did 4th and 1 come up in that game where it really made a difference? And even the last play of the game was a 4th and 1. Even the Rams going on the last drive, if they had punted, would they have won the game when they had a 4th and 1? So you got to go back and win those situations more than anything else. Offensively, we've talked about it to nauseum, but we had entirely too many sacks. We had too many penalties. We had too many lost yardage plays. So we got to play better on first down, so we don't have 3rd and longs, because usually that's where your sacks occur. 2nd long, 3rd and long. We've got to look really hard at our play selection in those situations too, that we're not putting ourselves in bad protections in long yardage, because the protection has to be the number one thing that we look at. And we're going back and looking at all those situations. We've looked at every negative play that we had last year. We've looked at as a staff, offensive staff, and I've been in there to see every one of those plays. So we got to play better on first down so we can come up with 2nd and 3rd and average or short. And it gives you a better chance to stay on the field. And that's what this is all about in making those situations, because we've got to make 3rd downs. We need to score more touchdowns in the lower red zone. We're moving the ball. We've run the ball better than anybody in our league for 2 years. We're scoring points, but we're leaving a lot of points on the field with field goals when you get in the lower red zone. So we need to be more risk takers down there, but we've got to run the ball down there and be more consistent. So we don't want to kick field goals. We want to score touchdowns, and that's really important. How do we handle our quarterbacks in the spring? We've got to go back and, number one, be really hard on them and put them in difficult situations. I don't want the Florida A&M game to be the first time that our quarterbacks feel pressure. So I've talked to Coach Chiswick and Coach Longo about putting them in game situations throughout the spring. With Sam Howell did a great job his first year. So these 2 young guys that we've got that will be out there first in Jacoby and Drake, They've been here, one of them's been here 2 years, one of them's been here a year. They've been here long enough. So now we need to put pressure on them. And obviously Jefferson Boaz will get some shots, and Connor Harrell, who was just named the high school football American National Player of the Year, which is an unbelievable feat. He's the valedictorian of his high school, two-time Alabama Player of the Year, two-time state champion. So there's a lot of great things that Connor brings to us. It'll be fun to watch him this spring as well. We will handle the quarterbacks like we did the first year with the 3 quarterbacks when we were here. They'll all have their opportunities. We probably will not make a decision on who starts till fall, because we'll also want to have preseason camp. But they could separate. But we're going to be doing some different things offensively. So they're going to have to learn. We're going to move the quarterback more. We're going to have more quick game. We're going to do some different things offensively than we've done for the previous 3 years. So it'll be fun to watch these quarterbacks and see how they handle it. Awesome Richards will play tackle and guard. Caden Baker will play tackle and center. Travion Green and Zach Rice have looked really, really good in the preseason workouts. So they haven't hit anybody, but from what we've seen, they've sure passed the test for work ethic and how they bend and their attitudes. And Travion 6'7", 355, and Zach is he's 6'6", 315. The guys can move their feet, so it'll be fun to watch them when we start next week. Corey Gaynor, he had a sore knee a hurt knee at Miami. He seems to be fine. He's working really, really well. You can see he's 6'4", 309. He and Brian Anderson have shown great leadership. Brian's healthy. Again, I don't think he was ever healthy last year. They're both showing outstanding leadership with that offensive line. Ed Montelis looks different. He looks really good, and he's stepping up as a leader as well. So we feel like that those guys will help us with leadership roles. William Barnes will play guard and tackle, and Kerryon Johnson will play center and guard. It's obvious with 3 older centers, we've got to find a young center moving forward, and we can talk about that in just a second. The tight ends are what we saw last year. Kendall Carr will be out. He will not be participating in spring. Hopefully he'll get to do some drill work or something, but he will not be out there in full speed at all. And we're also going to look at Bryson Nesbitt some in the slot and look at him as a, quote, pseudo wide receiver and try to get mismatches with him, because we were so impressed with him last fall. There's a bunch of running backs. We got to find 3 out of that group. George Pettaway's been impressive with his quickness and his speed in the offseason. So it'll be fun to watch him this spring. Kamara Edmonds has lost 25 pounds. So he's put him in a position where he can compete this spring. But we've got too many, and they're all good players. So we've got to get it narrowed down this spring to who we feel like can play. And then we've got to give Omari and Hampton, the North Carolina Player of the Year, a chance when he gets here. We've got to find 6 wide receivers that can play. Justin Olson will be limited at first, so J.J. Jones will be stepping up. Josh Downs, we're going to move around. We really want to see Antoine Green's had an outstanding offseason. We want to see Kobe Paysor, Gavin Blackwell, and Tylee Kraft, and really push them hard this spring and see what they can do, because we feel like that they're very, very important to us. Spencer Rollin will be coming in June along with Justin Kenyock. We think that Spencer could play anywhere up front. Justin is a guy we're going to look at all the spots, but we feel like he could be a young center moving forward. And then we're really thin at wide receiver this spring. So you've got Doc Chapman and Andre Green coming in, and we would hope that they would step in and play some immediately along with Omari and Hampton that I mentioned before. On defense, well, and with these depth charts, what we've told the guys we've been trying to play more guys since we've been here for the previous 3 years, and we haven't done a great job of doing that. We have to do it for depth, but we have to do it for transfer portal. Because if guys aren't going to play, they're going to leave. And that's just the new world we live in. So regardless of how we work it, Coach Chisholm and I were talking the other day, we're trying to get 22 guys that can play on defense. And if you can only get 17, but rotate them any way we want to. So we won't start out worrying about depth chart when we get out there. So when you get out there next Tuesday and you'll be at practice, don't get so excited that you see so-and-so's at right tackle, man. So-and-so's, that really doesn't matter. We're trying to figure out who we are. We got some changes on offense, as we said. We've got a whole new defense that we're putting in. And defensively, we're going to have to look at personnel first. Who fits the skill set and where, and Coach Chisholm and Coach Warham will have a whole lot to do with that. They're watching the offseason very closely. They've gone back and watched plays from last year. In fact, they'll take a player like Ra-Ra Dilworth and say, Ra-Ra's too good not to be playing. Where does he fit? Where's his best skill set? And then they'll watch them next week and then start putting guys in the right place. But also they're teaching Tim Cross and Tommy Thigpen and Dre Bly the defense, because Charlton and Gene not only work together here, but they've been working together and talking about football over the last 5 years. So they're definitely on the same page. We'll have more limited contact on defense because we got more guys out. And that's a little bit of a problem because we've got to tackle better. But it'll also, since some of the starters will be out with injuries, it's going to give other guys an opportunity to step up and play. So that's going to be good to be able to watch them and force us to put guys out there that need to get more experience, because you're not winning games in the spring. You're trying to figure out who you are and trying to learn how to play to that standard so you can be there in the fall. On defense as well as offense, we've got to eliminate penalties. We've got to eliminate explosives. We were too inconsistent. We'd play great or awful. And those are things that we're addressing. We've got to force more turnovers. We've got to get off the field on 3rd and 4th downs because people have stayed out there. A stat right before the half, I think the opposing team scored 9 of 13 games this year in the last 5 minutes of the half, which is such a critical part of the game. We can't allow that to continue to happen. These guys, let's just start. Desmond Evans and Javari Ritzie will be the power ends to start with. Kamen Rucker will not be out there for the contact this spring because of a lower body injury. All these guys will be fine for fall. We're so excited that Ray Bahasik's back for leadership purposes. Not only is he tough and he's quick and he can dominate the line of scrimmage, he wasn't healthy at all last year, and he wanted to come back and finish right with a healthy year. But we're really, really talented in those young rooms at nose guard and 3 technique, but we don't have the older leadership, and he's a guy that can really bring that to us. KJ Binkley Jones will not be out there this spring with an upper body injury. He has had really, really bad luck since he's been here, and hopefully he's through with that. He'll be ready to go when we get back in the fall, but we're looking at nose tackle for Kevin Hester and Keyshawn Silver to really step up. 3 techniques, Miles Murphy. We feel like he is ready to have a banner year. You've got Tamari Fox, who'll be limited a little bit early because of an upper body injury, but he will be able to practice this spring. Jalil Taylor got hurt in the bowl game, and he is out of spring. And then you've got Travis Shaw, who has looked good. He's still working through some upper body stuff that he had in high school, but it'll be fun to watch him practice in a couple of days, and he'll be at 3 technique. The Jack, which is an outside linebacker, Chris Collins continues to improve, and we're hoping that he can have a breakout year. Noah Taylor has been very impressive. Like Corey Gaynor, he's brought leadership. He's brought attitude. He's really fast. So it'll be fun to watch him compete with Chris this spring. Bo Atkinson will line up at the Jack position to start with. And Gabe Stevens, who can really run. We didn't get to see him last fall because of an upper body injury he had in high school, but we'll get to watch him at the jack position as well. Power Eccles and Sebastian Cheeks. We're so proud of Sebastian. He's handling his schoolwork. It's a tremendous amount of pressure on him losing his dad right before he came, and he's hung in there. It's been a tough transition for him, but he's doing well, and can't wait to watch him next Tuesday because he sure looks good in the off-season program. And Ethan West will be limited from his injury last fall. And then you've got Cedric Gray and Ra Dilworth and Malachi Hamrick will be the linebackers on the other side. So we're putting Malachi inside to start with. Tony Grimes, who we said went to number 1, he's really doing well. He's stepping up in his leadership role, as is Josh Downs. Excited to see Tamir Brown this spring. He's getting more confident. He can run at corner. Jaquarius Conley and Geo Biggers will be out of spring. They'll be limited in some things they may do, but they will not have contact. And that's going to force Dontavius Nash to step up and really get a good look at him. Cameron Kelly will be at free safety. The other guys I just mentioned, Jaquarius Conley, Geo Biggers, and Dontavius Nash will be at boundary safety. And Don Chapman will be limited at first, and then we think he'll be full speed, which is absolutely amazing that he had an operation after Notre Dame and he can come back that quickly. So he'll be at free safety with Cam Kelly, Cam Sinclair, and we'll also get a look at Christopher Holliday, Corey's son. He's a perfect score on the SAT and the ACT. He's never made a B. He's a Moorhead scholar, and he will get some looks this spring. So that'll be fun to look at him. Storm Duck will be limited at first, but he will be able to practice and be full speed before spring is over. But that also gives us a chance to look at Dante Bellflower. Day Hollins will be out from his operation last fall. And then the star position, the nickel position, is Obi Agbuna and DeAndre Boykins will both be working to start at the star position. And because of the limited numbers, we're going to have to, we'll have to cross teach in a lot of these different positions, and especially in the secondary as limited as we are there. In June, you'll have Bryson Jennings coming in. You'll have Deuce Caldwell, Tayon Holloway, Marcus Allen, and Will Hardy. And those guys will be joining us. So we'll have 10 new guys that will join us in June. And we'll obviously go by the rules, but we'll work with them as much as we can to get them ready to go when they get here, and make sure they're not too far behind by missing spring practice. The special teams, Coach Porter's done a very good job of reorganizing our special teams. We'll have all the coaches involved, and I'll give you that breakdown when we get closer to special team periods. At times we were great in special teams last year, then we were good, and then we had some awful, we had the 4 block punts. We had the punt return against us at Notre Dame. So we've made progress in our 3 years. We're still not where we need to be. So that will be a huge emphasis this spring. Our punter will still be Ben Kiernan. Our deep snapper, Drew Little, has been outstanding. And our kicker to start with will be Jonathan Kim. It's his to lose. He's got a great leg. He's just got to be more consistent, and that will be a huge part of trying to find out which guy this spring is got the biggest leg and which one is the most consistent as we get ready to go through. In closing, before I answer questions, roster management continues to be a nightmare basically for coaches now. So you have to do a better job communicating than ever before. You got to sit down with your guys and say, okay, if you're going to be drafted, are you leaving? And I think every guy that we've had since we've been here that's drafted has left. There hasn't a guy that said that if I'm not going to be in the first 3 rounds, I'm coming back. So basically it looks like that trend is that if someone's going to be drafted, they're going to go ahead and leave in our program. but you've got the NFL guys that will probably leave, and who are they? Then you go back and you have to discuss that with them. You have to discuss it with Coach Moody, and Kevin Donnelly is also helping us with the NFL guys. And then you also have to discuss it with them and just say, tell me, man, are you leaving? And if you are, that's okay, but we need to know, because it affects the amount of numbers that we can offer for next year. And then you've got the grads, and our rule basically has been, if you graduate and you're not going to play and you still got eligibility, let us help you get somewhere else, because the most important thing is you get your degree here. And we've been successful in doing that. And then the last part of that's the transfer portal. The transfer portal is still open until I think June 1st. So we end spring practice the latter part of April, and then we've got a month, excuse me, that anybody could basically leave. So that changes things as well. Jeremy, is there anything I missed?
I don't think so.
Okay, questions, folks?
All righty, we got him in the queue here, Coach. We'll start off with Andrew Jones.
Hey, Coach, hope you're well.
I am, Andrew. Got a little allergy throat, but other than that, I got my medicine here.
Be strong. Hang in there. You said earlier when you started talking to us here about 20 minutes ago that you guys are going back to the basics. Can you elaborate on that? How extensive will that be, and how much different will it be maybe in the approach the previous couple of years?
Andrew, it's a great question. I don't think you go back as much as you shouldn't have left. We didn't do a great job last year, I don't think, as a staff or as a team, of getting ready to play every week, of having the playing up to the standard that we had the previous 2 years. There were very few games that I felt like we didn't give everything we had, and I thought that we as a group, and probably, staff, coaches, and players read those headlines about how good we were. We all talked about losing the great players that we lost. We addressed it, but I'm not sure that we did as good a job in any area of attacking it. I thought we felt like that, yeah, those guys are gone, we're going to be okay. But we should have done a better job addressing it and doing more things, so we didn't have those sacks, and we didn't have as many tackles for loss, and we didn't give up explosive plays. That's all coaching, and that's all on me. So I really enjoyed the first 2 years. I didn't have fun last year. I didn't know who was going to show up. So I didn't feel like I did a good job. So that means our staff didn't do a good job. And that's all on me. And I take this very serious. I left a really good job to come back and make sure that I took care of Carolina football and got us where we wanted to go. And the first 2 years, I thought we exceeded those expectations. And last year we were short on our goals. And that's 100% me. So what it does, it motivates me to obviously make some changes. But like I said, I've been in all those offensive meeting rooms. Every meeting we've had, I've been in there for every minute that I can, so we can clean some things up. You got young quarterbacks. You got a lot of question marks. Where we were ranked way too high last year, this year we'll be ranked low, and that's fair, because there's so many question marks. So we're more talented than we've been, but they're young, and a lot of times young players don't play well. So for us as a staff, that's our job. We got to get them to play better. So going back and making sure that there's a winner and loser in every drill that you make in your off-season program. They drafted their teams, and they're competing right now in everything they do, and that means going to class, and that means eating every meal, and that means winning every drill. And then we have a winner and loser at the end of every day, and we have a winner and loser at the end of the off-season program, and then we'll do the same in the spring. So I think probably, Andrew, more than anything else, going back and putting an absolute emphasis on every little detail to make sure that we're doing little things right. And instead of sitting here talking about what we're going to do and what we're going to win, we're going back to setting the standard that we need to do everything right to get there. Everybody works hard. Everybody thinks they're going to be good in the spring. It's always interesting when people say, well, I thought you said you were going to be good. Well, you hope you are, you think you are, and you work to be, but there are no guarantees. Nobody knows who any team is right now. And that's what you're doing. You're developing yourself as a team every minute of every day right now. So for us to have two quarterbacks that haven't played any and act like we're going to be great, that's fool's gold, because we're not sure.
If I could ask a quick follow-up, psychology being what it is in sports, how much did the manner that you guys lost the opener last year, do you think kind of lingered and affected maybe some of that preparation?
I thought there were two or three things. I thought that lingered because it was a tough physical game and we lost late. And that took a lot of the air out of the quote, we're number 8 in the country. And then we come back and play good against Georgia State. We come back and play good against Virginia, and everybody griped about all of them because nobody was happy after you lose to Virginia Tech because you've lost your life. And then we absolutely lay an egg at Georgia Tech. And I thought that's the one that killed us. We could have come back and overcome Virginia Tech. Georgia Tech, we were awful. And I don't know why to this day. I can't answer that. Part of it's we turned the ball over 3 times inside our 50. And gave them short fields because I thought we were playing good defense early. We were never playing good offense that game. And it just seemed like, Andrew, we'd vote to see who was going to stink. And we run up down the field against Virginia, but we can't stop them. At Georgia Tech, we're playing pretty good defense, but we turn it over 3 times. We didn't turn it over 3 times on our end of the 50 in the 3 years we've been here. And we do it to start that game. So I think those were the frustrating things for me. I never knew who was going to show up. And then we come and we were doing well against Miami. And then in the end, we don't move the ball very well, and our defense kind of lets them get some points in the fourth quarter. We took a game that we should have had control of and ended up being a miracle play in the end to win. Then Florida State, which we didn't play great against the year before. We played good on offense, good enough to win, but we don't play good defense. And it looked like we were playing good defense in the first quarter. I think we were ahead 10-0. And then their quarterback makes a 60-yard run on a 3rd and 5. And it looked like we lost our confidence and the winds went out of our sails. So I want to get back to that team and that coaching staff that lines them up right. We're sound. We want to be simple and look complicated, but we're going to play our tail off. I'm not keeping any of my bowl stuff this year because of the way we played. I wasn't proud. We lost in the Orange Bowl. We were shorthanded and we played our tail off. Those guys played really, really hard. So that's what we've got to get back to. We've got to get back to playing like we expect to play. And that's with an edge, an intensity, and a confidence every week. And we just didn't do that last year.
Thank you.
All right, we got Art Chansky.
Hey, Mack, hope you and Sally are doing well.
Thank you, Art.
This is the recruiting season where supposedly you have to talk about NIL with the parents and the recruits because everybody else is talking about them. So can you explain what you can say and what you can't say? And you can't really say nothing because obviously they're going to be information about kids at other schools who you're recruiting, getting some stuff. So how do you answer that, or how do you begin to deal with that this recruiting season?
Art, somebody, a national committee said it the other day. There's so much cheating with NIL. It's really sad, and it's got to be cleaned up. And that's tampering is bad, but the cheating's bad. The way I've been told is that coaches cannot get involved with the opportunities for the kids. That has to be an outside source. And we've got Hills for Life that does that for us. But what I've been told is that the only thing we can tell a player or a parent is we can explain to them what players on our team are currently, the opportunities they're getting, and how that works. And that's it. We can't promise anybody any money for play. which just about every transfer I talked to was being offered money. So it was a little ridiculous. But I think that's where we've got to find an answer here, to put some guidelines on this, or we'll never see college sports again the way we've seen it.
You want to say any more?
No,
I think we're good. Thanks, Art.
Yeah, but no, I think that's fact. We've got to, we threw it out there. There were no guidelines, and now it's out of control. I said before, when people are recruiting people off your team and trying to pay them money, we're out of control. And it's not best for the sport, but it's not best for the kids, because it's not what we all grew up in this business for. And I think everybody realizes that now, and everybody's looking at it. And the problem is, how do you fix it? And how do you fix it quickly? Because it's a problem right now for our sport, and it needs to be fixed. And then it tied into the transfer portal even makes it worse, because you can leave tomorrow for a deal, and that's just not the way this thing was supposed to be.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, we got CL Brown.
Hey, Mac. Given the changes on defense, staffing wise, with Coach Chisholm coming in, what do you want to see out of spring? You know, in terms of progress with guys just simply kind of picking up the system and knowing, having that part of it, having confidence in their knowledge of what you guys are trying to do.
Yeah, CL, spring is really difficult for a head coach, because you leave the field mad every day, because half of what you want to accomplish didn't work. So the first thing we've got to do, and I love Gene Chizik. I don't like him. I love him because we've had history together. I've known him for a long time, and he helped us win a national championship. And those are hard to get. So I have complete confidence in him, and I've been so impressed since he's been here, that he's just taken over that defense, and he has confidence, and he brings a national championship winning head coach as an assistant and a head coach from Auburn into this program, which really helps me. But you start with stopping the run, and we've said that every year. If you can't stop the run, this game is simple and people are complicated. You have got to stop the run on defense, and you've got to run the ball on offense. And if you're second down and long and third and long, you're probably going to lose games. You get your turnovers when it's second long and third and long, and their quarterback has to throw it, and you can put pressure on the quarterback and either sack him or tip a ball or have a late throw or get an interception. So it's all put together. So we've got to run the ball or have productive throws on first down, so we can be second and average and third and short to stay on the field. So defensively, we've got to stop runs on first down, which we've really struggled with. And then we've got to put them in second and third and long, and that's when we start getting our turnovers. So we haven't stopped the run well on first down, and we therefore haven't been able to force turnovers. And so we're going to go back to all the fundamentals with a four-man front, and we're going to work really hard. I've been impressed with the way Coach Chizik and Coach Longo are working together with me to try to make sure that we fit the needs of each other and spring, and make sure that you see some of the things that you need to work on in spring that you're going to see next fall that you might not do. And we'll do that some with the second units, which are our white units. But I think, again, the biggest thing is we've got to stop the run and get turnovers, and those go together. And we've got to do that. We've got to be more aggressive downhill with our linebackers. We've got to be more aggressive with our front. We can't be a read front where we're holding and getting knocked off the ball. This league's too good for that. We've got to be aggressive, and we've got to attack. And the kids are really, really excited about what they've heard from both Coach Chizik and Coach Warren. Charlton, I didn't know, but he is very, very impressive. And I mean, just the fact that he got in Air Force and the fact that he overcame so many things as a young person to get in Air Force, and the fact that he was special forces for our country for 10 years. I mean, that makes it easy to walk in a room and get attention. So, and talking about discipline and talking about leadership, he and Coach Chiswick have shown all of that, and they've really helped our team in that area.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, CL.
Sorry, Luciano, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I hope we're doing well, and thanks for your time. A little follow-up on that regarding specifically the quarterback position. You mentioned putting them in pressure situations and that you won't be making a decision until fall. But what are the main things that you will be looking at during these spring practices in order to decide who will be the starter at quarterback this season?
We've got to do a much better job as a team with game type situations. 2-point plays, lower red zone, 4th and 1s, 4th and 2s, 3rd down and 5s. We've got to do a better job of having twist and blitzes to get to the quarterback. We've got to do a better job of protecting those. So the biggest thing we need to do is put our quarterbacks in all those game type situations and see who responds the best. And the same thing with we're young at running back. British is really the only one that's played a whole lot. We've got 2 receivers that have played a lot. We're young at wide receiver. So we're really going to have a lot more situations in spring practice than we've ever done, instead of just lining up and playing. We're going to make sure that we have specific goals that we've got to get accomplished, and the quarterback that can make those plays the most is the one that plays.
Michael Coe, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. You mentioned that half the time at spring practice you leave mad. What to you defines a good practice? Is there like sort of a checklist that you go through, or is it just sort of getting the feel and the vibe of the day?
Michael, it's pretty much what you just said. You want to leave healthy, number one. And if you do get someone hurt, you hope it's not an injury that you don't want him to miss practice, but you hope it's not an injury that carries over to a fall, because that really hurts you. So number one, you want them to have an edge. You want them to play up to a standard every day, because if you do in practice every day, usually you do in the fall. I saw some practices I didn't like last spring, and I was adamant about it with our coaches, but I'm not sure we ever got the grasp of it and fixed it. So I want every practice to create an edge, practice up to a standard, and stay healthy. And then after that, we're going to do more sitting and watching the video together as a staff. And I can sit and say, this guy's too high. We got to get him down. Tell me what's wrong with this play. I want to know what's wrong, so everybody in the room knows. And we'll do a lot more of that this spring.
And just as a follow-up, you said that you won't be ranked too high this coming season, justifiably so. Which positions do you think could surprise people to sort of give you guys that chip on your shoulder again?
Michael, I think we have to wait till after spring. That's what gets us in trouble. I sit here and say it, and then if it doesn't happen like that in the spring, everybody says, oh, he told us this and he's a liar. No, just wasn't what I thought. So let's watch. You'll walk out of there Monday or next Tuesday, and you'll say, boy, that looks better than I thought. And this looks like a concern. And really and truly, Michael, we're all human beings. I'll be doing the same thing. I'll say, boy, George Petaway looks good. Easy now, we're not in pads. We're just in shorts. Let's wait till we get in pads. Or something like that. So this is going to be a process. This is fun because we are starting over, as I told Andrew earlier. We're going back to like we got here for the first day. These guys have never won a game. They've never lost a game. And the expectations are the same. We expect to win every game, but we're not going to talk about winning every game. We're going to talk about putting ourselves in a position to do the little things that help you win the game. Who would have ever thought that the Bengals and the Rams would have come down to a 4th and 1? And last spring, were they working on 4th and 1s? because that was going to determine the Super Bowl. So that's what we've got to do. We've got to put ourselves in enough game type situations in the spring that they earn the right to play. And then, like, we've got 7 running backs, only 3 can play. There's going to be 4 that won't get to play. And they're going to determine that by what we see in the spring. And that's just where we're headed. And I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a great spring.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Solomon Reeves, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, thank you for your time. So this offseason, you're losing several players that have been key parts of the team since your arrival back in Chapel Hill. Obviously, Sam Howell headlining that. How do you think the team is building an identity, a new identity without those players that have been around for so long?
Solomon, I think it's really good because they feel just what you've said. Everybody said, oh, they're not going to be any good. They've lost Sam. They've lost this player. They've lost that player. And what you have to do is create a new identity. Sam's been our identity for 3 years. Those 2 running backs last year, I've got their highlights here in the building now. Those guys had a tremendous year in the NFL. They weren't good players. They were great players. And we all thought that, but we didn't feel it. And we missed them so much. Now we got to start over with our identity too. Who's going to be the Michael Carter? Who's going to be the Javonte? Who's going to be the Sam? Who's going to step up and do what De'Ami Brown did 2 years ago? Who's going to be the deep threat as a wide guy? So there are a lot of things. What can we do with Josh Downs to help him more? Where people started bracketing him, he still caught over 100 balls, but can we do a better job with him? And then who are those other pieces as they come through? We need to do a better job of covering outside and using 9 inside to stop the run. Who are those guys? And I think this is why this is such an exciting time in Carolina football, where we got out of the 2 wins and the 3 wins to 3 straight bowl games for the first time in a long time. We haven't won the last 2 games. Another focus, and it's hard to do, is how do we start winning on the road? We've got Florida A&M here, and then we go to App State. That'll probably be the biggest game in their school history. And then we go to Georgia State, who just won a bowl game, had one of the best teams they've ever had. How do we start winning on the road? What do you do? We've talked about, do we do things like dress in the visitors' locker room down here some as we're going to practice? Does that change their routine? Do you change the times of practice in the fall? Because we've usually gotten horrible starts on the road, and we come back and fight our guts out and lose late. Why? It's so we've got to look at all those things, but most of it is just playing good and playing to that standard.
Ross Martin, go ahead.
Hey, Coach Brown, great to see you. When you were reading the roster and going through all the roster, I noticed in all the positions and stuff, I noticed a lot of injuries, especially on defense. And obviously some were from the season that we know about, but some of the new ones, just people being held out for spring or not able to do full contact. What's going on there? Why do you think it's happening? What's the deal? Is it precautionary? Just a little more insight to just kind of the amount of injuries y'all have right now.
Yeah, Ross, you really have to ask the doctors and the trainers, but a lot of these guys had a lingering injury in the fall, and they just fought through it and said that they'll get it fixed and after the season, but they wanted to make it through. And I think that's the biggest part of this. And the ones that were obvious in the fall are out. But a guy like Gio Biggers wanted to finish the season and then get his procedures so he could go. Same thing with KJ Binkley. And where it affects them in the spring, they'll still be ready to start summer workout and be ready to go in the fall.
Great. And a quick follow-up here. When you were going through the roster and positions on defense, and obviously all the new, there's a new defensive coordinator with new positional needs and players moving around. So what has that been like? Kind of following up on CL's question, you got some players moving, Des Evans, for example, to a power end instead of the outside linebacker position. Malachi Hamrick, I thought he was coming in as a defensive end playing inside linebacker. Can you go into some specifics of guys that are making big changes or what you think and hope to see out some of these players on defense and where those position changes are and why?
Ross, it's exactly what you've said. We're looking at where they might be. We think we need better pass rushers. We think Dez can be a great pass rusher. And he's a big body now. He's 261 pounds at 6'5" plus. And we've got to have two there at least. So you got he and Ritzy that can handle that tight end and help in the run game. And then you've got guys like Chris Collins and Noah Taylor that can really run, and they can blitz, but they can drop. So we're just going back and looking at, you're not sure the body type of like Malachi Hambrick. I think he came in at 175, and now he's already 200 pounds. So if he gets bigger, a bigger body type, he would be able to play either jack or linebacker. And obviously without being on the field, and he played pretty much that at Shelby. He was all over the place. So the biggest thing with the Bo Atkinsons, the Gabe Stevens, and the guys who haven't been in a spot yet, right now it's fun for them because they're asking, where am I going to play? And Gene's basically telling them, here's what we see in the offseason. If there is video, here's what we see in video. He's taken video of that defense, whether it's the NFL or sometimes at Auburn, and he's saying, here's you. And he circles it. Here's what I see you doing and why. And they have sat down with every defensive player individually. So I think that's really created a lot of excitement, probably some anxiety, but a lot of excitement about what they can do and what the coaches see them doing and why. And that's kind of where we are right now. For our staff, this will be the most anticipated spring practice I've been in, including the first one that we got here, because we had so many people out then. We're going to get to look at a lot of new young guys. So the fact that Jaquarius Conley and Biggers are out, Day Hollins are out, we know what they can do. So we need to see what these young ones can do. And with transfer portal, you need to create depth. And this is a great way to create depth. I wish the others were out there and we could hold them out. And a lot of them, like Don Chapman, will be involved with a lot of stuff. But this is going to force us to see, how is Dontavius Nash? How is Cam Roseman Sinclair? How is Christopher Holiday? How is Tamir Brown? And like I was talking about with Michael, you may walk off the field one day and say, oh my God, they look awful. Well, these may be guys that aren't ready to play yet, that need to be ready to play. And the other thing we've got is whether it's Conley or Tony Grimes or Gio Biggers, Cam Kelly, Don Chapman, we've got a lot of guys that could be leaving over the next 2 years in that secondary room. So we got to find some guys to fill those spots. So that this will be a good spring for that as well.
Gregory Hall, go ahead.
Hey, Matt, good to see you. You mentioned offensive changes. I'm just curious what some of those look like and what kind of led to that. Is it not having Sam Howell? Is it simple as that? Is it Phil kind of trying to be less predictable? Just what are some of those offensive changes and what required those changes?
Well, Greg, you kind of showed your hand there when you said Phil being less predictable. That must mean you've said he's predictable. So
maybe once or twice.
Maybe once or twice. No, my job is to make sure that we're doing what's best for Carolina and our personnel. And the basic philosophy of our offense is to have the air raid with the power running game. That's what we said from day one, and that hadn't changed. But we have entirely too many sacks, and I'm going to fix that, period. And I've asked them to fix it. They haven't, so I'm going to. We have entirely too many tackles for loss. And people want to say, well, how do you fix it? Well, come and spend the last 3 months with me. I mean, you look at things that can fix it. Is it personnel? Is it play selection? Is it the way you're coaching them? Is it getting everybody on the same page because this guy wants this and this guy wants this? Yes. There's so many different pieces to this. That's where it gets very complicated. So for us to get where we want to go, I feel like we'll be better on defense this year than we were last year. That's going to give the offense the ball more. I feel like we've got to stay on the field on third downs more. And to do that, we've got to get third and short. We've got to shorten that. So what do you do with that? How do you handle pressure? Is the pressure all the offensive line, or is the pressure when you're dropping back on 3rd and 8 and everybody in the stadium knows you're dropping back and you've got younger receivers and they're getting covered and you get sacked, everybody cusses the offensive line. Well, maybe it's play selection. Maybe we should move that quarterback more. Maybe you can't let them know where the launch point is every time you drop back, because all of the defenses are designed to get to that one spot. Maybe you should run more option to disrupt the defense. The offensive staff did a great job this year of utilizing more screens and draws. People don't recognize that. And then if you get sacked if you get tackled for a draw, everybody cusses the offensive line for it being a sack. It wasn't even a sack, it was a bad run, which those can happen. So what I've asked our offense to do, and they've been great with it, is we've done so many good things offensively. I think we can be great. And we've been sporadically great, which means you're inconsistent. And I have said we've got to do a better job in situations, and we haven't. I have said we've got to do a better job in low red zone of scoring touchdowns instead of field goals. We haven't. So those are areas that I'm getting involved with that we need to fix.
What exactly does it look like with you getting involved? Is it just in the staffing room? Is it on the field and play calling while games are happening? What does that look like?
I'm not going to call plays, because I've in my experience, when I call plays when I was younger, and when you're a head coach calling plays, you have to be really, really careful that you're labeled as an offensive coach. And we're not going to win big here till we play great defense. So I don't want to separate myself from the defense and the special teams. In fact, I'll probably be in offensive meeting rooms more, and I'll be in special teams rooms more, because I was in the special teams rooms about every time last year. But what happens, Gregory, is you get a certain number of plays that you're going to call on first down. And really and truly, it doesn't matter if all 5 of them work on first down, all 7 of them work on first down. It doesn't matter which one you call. It usually gets down to the game where I think we can do a better job of picking our personnel against them. We can do a better job with matchups. If we've got a right tackle that's going to dominate their defensive end, run right. I mean, it's not complicated, it's simple. But I think sometimes we just run plays. I want us to run plays for a reason. And I want us to have an advantage with every play that we run. And that's what we'll be looking at more than if we can't protect them in a drop back situation, because he is such a great player. You got to chip him with a running back, you got to chip him with a tight end, or you got to go quicks or move the quarterback or run away from him. They're simpleton philosophies, but that's football. That's what you got to do. We got to do those little things better. Phil has done an amazing job scoring punts. We've run up and down the field. The offensive coordinator and the offensive line coach have the 2 worst jobs in football. Because if there's ever a loss or a sack, it's the offensive line coach's fault. And if you call a play that doesn't work, it's the offensive coordinator's fault. And if it does work, the players did it great. I mean, I got this thing. I've been listening to people for 33 years. And nobody are in any of those meetings. My dad, I was the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, and my dad actually sat in the press box with me, and we called a play and the player went the wrong way. And I got booed by about 87,000. And Dad said, "That's not fair. He went the wrong way." And I said, "No, Dad, that's coaching. I got to get him to go the right way." "But they think you called a bad play." Well, I said, "I did, because I didn't coach him right to go the right way." And that's what happens, Greg. We just got to get back to where every play that we run offensively has a chance to be successful because of the thought that we've put into it, instead of having a system.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Coach, we'll finish up with one more from Luciano here.
Hey, Coach, I was wondering, what is your working methodology with the new guys during spring practice, and how do you introduce them to the dynamics of a Power 5 program, whether they may be freshmen or transfers from a non-Power 5 program?
It's another great question. You've got 8 of them here, and then you've got 2 transfers. Well, the older guys kind of take care of themselves. You want them to mix in with the team. And Ty Chandler ended up becoming one of our captains. So that was done. These are really nice young people. We sit and talk about what they do well and what they don't do well. These guys have gone to class. They've acted right. They've done everything right to show class for our university since they've been here. And they don't get enough credit for that. And they really should, but they don't. I understand that world too. But with these young guys, what we've done, we still are keeping them separate from the older guys in the weight program. A guy like George Pettaway, who's got his personal trainer at home and worked out every day. And some of the other guys get frustrated because they're not able to work with the team yet. But we want to make sure that they learn how to lift, they learn how to stretch, they learn how to run, and that they're safe. I saw a young guy in a program that was just coming in many, many years ago, and he was overweight, and he tried to do what all the other kids did, and he actually died of a heart attack or a stroke. And I said that day, we will never have our freshmen working with the older guys when they first get here. So the same thing will happen a little bit in spring at first. We'll make sure we match them up and we'll have them in the right places so they can learn how to practice, because they haven't even really practiced with us or know how we practice. And then after spring practice, maybe the second half after spring break, you turn them loose in practice, and then they go work out with the older guys after spring practice is over. And then the other 10 guys that are coming in, they will actually work separate from the older guys when they get here, because they'll go through that same learning process in the summer.
Thanks, Coach.
You think these guys are away from home for the first time? They're around guys that have been working out for 4 and 5 years in college that are stronger than them. And they go through all this hype in recruiting. And we used to do this at Texas. We may have to start doing it here. We used to, as soon as the recruits would get there, we'd take a big barrel and we'd put gas in it, and we'd take all their stars and we'd drop their stars in it and say, all your stars were for high school. You have no stars against college players. So you are starting over, man. We don't have 3 stars and 5 stars. We got no stars. And that's kind of the way you work them in, and at the same time try to keep their head up and not discourage them too much.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, folks. We'll see you next Tuesday. We'll be on the field, Jeremy, at 8. Is that about what we're talking
Correct.
about?
Yep, we'll be at 8 on the field. So you guys know the